It is being billed as Final Friday. Hundreds of thousands of opposition supporters in Egypt are gathering in Cairo's central square in the latest attempt to follow President Hosni Mubarak out of office. And these are live pictures right now from Cairo's central Tahrir Square, where massive crowds have already gathered, demanding that President Mubarak stands down with immediate effect. It's the 11th day of the unrest, and protesters say they're hoping for a turnout of about 1 million people. Let's now cross live to RT's Paula Salier. She is waiting for us in Cairo, can bring us up to date. And hi, Paula. So the aerial shots are showing some incredible scenes of the demonstrators there. Tell me, how optimistic are they that this day of departure, as they call it, will actually succeed?
Well, Rory, the midday prayers have just ended in Tahrir Square. Dramatic scenes as hundreds of thousands of people bowed their heads together for roughly about 20 minutes of silent reflection and prayer. Now, there is movement on the square. Those prayers have finished and people are starting to mobilize. The banners are flying, the slogans are being shouted. We do sense that people are preparing to make their way to the presidential palace. That is the planned destination for today's protest, which has been dubbed the Final Friday. Now, last Friday was dubbed the Day of Rage. Today is the departure day. People saying that the D-Day has arrived for Mubarak to step down. He is holed up in the presidential palace, and he has indicated that he is, to quote him, fed up with the situation, but that he believes he cannot step down immediately because Egypt will result in chaos. Now, many people here have laughed off that assertion, saying, well, how much more chaotic can this country really be? The army is maintaining a presence. It's on the perimeter of Tahrir Square. There it is checking people. There are still hundreds of thousands of people outside the square, still making their way, still hoping to get inside. The soldiers are checking people's IDs. They're checking that nobody is carrying weapons, because of course nobody here wants a repeat of the violence of the last few days. We have heard that the Minister of Defense has visited the square. We're also hearing, though, a very defiant call from protesters there, saying that nothing short of Mubarak stepping down will satisfy them. There are increasing concerns in terms of the Islamist element of these demonstrations. Some analysts here in Egypt have suggested that between 50 to 60% of people who've turned out in those squares are religious people. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood has denied that it's hijacking these demonstrations. In fact, Mubarak has accused them of instigating the cause against him. They too have been very critical of these kind of views, but certainly the sense here growing that there is a Islamist sense to these demonstrations. The resolve, though, in the square of Tahrir has strengthened since that violence, since those pro-Mubarak supporters went to the streets. They are largely being closed off. They are there in Tahrir Square. They have barricaded themselves behind thick steel bars, concrete slabs, but they've been kept very much at bay, and as of yet, no reports of violence. But people here nervous, the situation tense, the mood one of anxiety in terms of what the next few hours will bring.
Well, Paula, we've seen the violence has drawn condemnation from major European powers. Tell us more about the international reaction to the most recent developments.
Well, without fail, we've seen most countries in the world criticize the violence. Nobody in the international community, in fact, condoning it. We have seen the US very involved in what is happening. The American government putting forward a number of proposals in terms of how they see the situation in Cairo developing. One of the proposals on the table is that Mubarak step down with immediate effect, that an interim government be put in place that is headed by his vice president, Omar Suleiman. The Egyptian people might not support this, but they certainly are in agreement that they do not want to be dictated to from the United States, from Europe, from anybody in the international community in terms of what they should do here. Now, the US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, as well as the US Vice President Joe Biden, have spoken with the Egyptian Vice President Omar Suleiman. This too has been greeted with anger on the streets of Cairo. People here reiterating that call that it is their country and their decision in terms of what unfolds here.